Jay, who is a woman that's important to you and why?
My ex-boss at Skype. Without her, I wouldn't be here at the GSB.
She actually took over the company when she was only 18. At the time, her parents, including her father, who had been running the company, passed away in a helicopter crash. And she chose not only to take on the company, become CEO, and a member of the board, but also to start her undergraduate career at Harvard and deal with the loss of her parents.
I just can't, like that saying where they say, I can't imagine X, Y, Z, like I literally cannot imagine the things she chooses to do, but every time she does it, it doesn't sound crazy, it doesn't sound stupid, it sounds authentic, and it sounds fearless. It reminds me to really take advantage of all the opportunities that really life is limitless in that capacity.
So a woman that matters to me is my wife, Kelly. She's an active duty Army officer. She's a mom and she's a runner. She does all these things at the same time. And it's just a huge inspiration to everybody she comes in contact with that she's able to do each one of these things, which is admirable on its own. She does them all together. It's just an incredible thing to watch.
My mother is important to me. When I was growing up, she was the only woman that I knew who worked full-time, and I was so inspired by that and so proud of her. She was a sports journalist, and I thought that she just had the coolest job, and it never occurred to me that I wouldn't work when I grew up.
My sister. She's the only woman civil engineer in her class in Montreal Tech, and actually she's #1 in her class.
My mother is an inspiration to me in my life. She's now the chief nursing officer of a couple hospitals in Central Florida. It's an inspiration to me to see that in anybody, but especially the powerful woman that she has become is really just is fantastic.
The woman who's important to me and inspiring is my significant other and our dear classmate, Ivana. She's one of our youngest admits, but what maybe people don't know is she's also one of our youngest leaders. When she was only a few years old and times were very difficult at home, she took initiative and stepped up and put in a lot of heart and effort to get her two younger sisters to where they are today. So to me, Ivana is just a daily inspiration, a daily reminder of how important it is to be there for your family, your friends, and for each other.
My mom's a woman who's important to me. So my mom's who I look to as a model for hard work and resilience. She held senior executive roles in a number of Fortune 500 companies, and I aspire to the kind of professional success that she had. And I aspire to be the caliber of parent and all-around person who she is.
So my wife Monique and my little daughter Charlie May are just the most incredible people in my life. They're kind of my source of inspiration and purpose and meaning in my life.
My grandmother, also named Virginia Hawkins, is a total badass. She entered medical school at Johns Hopkins in 1945, which was the first year that Harvard accepted women to their medical school. She was one of 3 people in the class at Hopkins and proceeded to then get married to my grandfather and have her first pregnancy, which ended in miscarriage. My grandfather's mother had the nerve to ask her whether it was the stress of medical school that caused the miscarriage and whether women shouldn't be in medical school. My grandmother's response? I'll show you. She proceeded to have 9 children, worked as a hematologist, and then later worked as a doctor at a prison.
Has to be my grandmother, because she is constantly reinventing herself and learning and growing. At 7 years old, she got a tattoo and a Mustang convertible.
There are a lot of women in my life who are incredibly important to me, but today I want to talk about my mom, because she has taught me that you can be an amazing and caring and loving person, as well as just being a total badass at work.
My grandmother. So both of my grandmothers actually raised me when I was a child, and both of them have incredible stories of living through China during the Japanese occupation on my paternal grandmother's side, and on my maternal grandmother's side, she was one of the first women in China to get a college degree and to study chemistry. So I'm just incredibly inspired by both of them.
And she taught me that the most important thing is to live with purpose. If you live with purpose, you'll be successful no matter what.
She showed me what it meant to stand up for something and to fight for it, even if it's unpopular.
She was CEO for about 8 years and works in an industry where there's not a lot of women. She's important to me because she's a wonderful model of what I kind of aspire to.
She has devoted her career to helping others as a nurse and public health researcher and has inspired me to want to do the same.
and she really opened my eyes to the fact that I want to go into classical music, and it's thanks to her that I've pursued a career in orchestra management.
My mother, who is the financial stalwart of my family.
She was a housewife for 10 years before starting working again, but she became #1 salesperson in electronic appliance company. It was really amazing achievement.
Marlene Salona, who was my wife for 33 and a half years. A really extraordinary woman who, what I think about when I think about her is how grounded she was and what was important to her. After she passed away a couple of years ago, I was struck in the subsequent months by how many people reached out and said how they'd been touched by her, how their lives had been affected by her. In some cases, how their lives had been saved by her.
And how does she make you feel?
Valued?
She makes me feel inspired, and she makes me feel resilient.
Inspired, first of all, but then definitely whimsical.
She makes me feel inspired and proud.
She makes me feel confident, inspired, and determined.
Motivated.
Loved. Inspired. Grounded.
They make me feel like life is worth living. They just give me so much joy and purpose to everything I do.
She makes me feel like I can do anything.
They make me feel that anything is possible.
Like life is wonderful.
She reminds me of where I'm coming from and where I want to go.
She makes me feel empowered. She makes me feel like I can be both feminine and powerful. And that's something that I hope to hold on to for the rest of my career.